Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Kay Suthar. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Make Your Mark podcast. And I'm so excited for our guest today. She is going to be talking to us about copywriting. Yes, copywriting, one of the things that we all need to know and learn when we're building a business, because it is the one thing that's going to get potential clients driving towards us and throwing their credit cards at us, right? And that is what we're looking at. But she's not just any copywriter. She's a copywriter that comes with a twist. And so I'm not going to let you know what that is, but we will be talking about it. It's all going to come to light. But first of all, please welcome Chantelle to the stage. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh my goodness. Now, I've got so many questions for you, right? So many questions about copywriting, because this is something that we all do need to learn, but we struggle in getting words onto paper or onto our screens, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're going to go down that road a bit later on. But before we do, I would love for you to share with the audience here today about your background, your journey, because we all know it doesn't just happen like that with a click of a finger. You do not wake up one morning and have a successful business. And so please share with us what some of that journey looked like all the ups and downs and even the ugly parts. We want to hear that.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't happen overnight. That would be nice if there was just a silver bullet, right? I think a lot of people try and sell you that idea, but it is not true. So for me, my background was in corporate sales. So I worked in corporate sales for a couple of big chocolate companies for about 6-7 years. And I loved it for a while until I didn't. So I got really burnt out. I got really anxious, really depressed. I was traveling a lot. I really was not enjoying the lifestyle of being on the road all the time. And I had a horrendous boss, you know. So it's the classic corporate story. The corporate escapee story ended with someone being promoted to their level of incompetence and me having a pretty miserable time working underneath him. So it got quite bad in the last few months. And I just quit with no plan. I didn't have a plan of what I was going to do next. I had an English degree and I'd always loved writing, but I had no real idea of what it was I was going to do. I just knew that I couldn't stay there anymore because it was making me unwell. So this was back in 2017. So I was 27 and went from very well-paying job and company car and all the perks to suddenly being self-employed, but without really much idea. And it was my dad actually who gave me the idea of what to do next, because I'd been his ghostwriter since I was about 12. And he said to me one day, he runs pubs, but he also does marketing for pubs and businesses. So he has, since I was about 12 years old, been asking me to write things for him. And I sat down with him one day and said, I didn't know what to do. And he just said, you write stuff in my voice so perfectly. Why can't you do that for other people? Ooh. And I was like, oh, okay, yep, that sounds like a good idea. So I went and tried to figure out everything I could, figure out what copywriting was, which set me on a path to doing every course, reading every book. Always been a type A overachiever, so massive research mode to learn as much as I could, as quickly as possible. And as you say, that obviously came with lots and lots of peaks and troughs of experiences, and being burned and terrible coaches and all the classic online business rites of passage I think everyone has to go through when they're building their business. But really the making of me was the pandemic. So I imagine a lot of business owners have a similar story. But for me, suddenly I had a few clients, was really starting to build up my client base. And then there was this massive boom of everyone wanting to get online. So I was perfectly placed, because that was exactly what I help people do, was write sales pages, websites, and social media content. So exploded.
It was meant to be.
It was. And then there was another big boom, I guess you could say, another big change in 2022 when AI hit the scene very hard with tools like Chat GPT. And it was a massive threat to my industry. So I decided there was one of two ways I could go. Either bury my head in the sand, hope it goes away,
Yeah.
and pretend that it's not there and ignore it, or learn, adapt, and really become one of the first people in my industry to adopt it and teach it and collaborate with it in quite a serious way. And that's what I did. So that's sort of taken me on the path to where I am now, which I guess is
Wow.
the twist you're talking about.
Yes, that's the twist. Okay, from what you just said, I've got several questions for you just on what you've just said, right? So clearly, your dad was setting you up to be this writer because he'd already been using your writing, right, for his own marketing. And it was almost like he was testing you out, right, teaching you what he liked, what he didn't like, to set you up in this way, right? Which is so freaking amazing. And the fact that he was like, yeah, just do copywriting, you do it anyway, right? Which was so
Mhm.
obvious to him. And the fact that you said that you're an English graduate or you qualified
Mhm.
in English, right? Now, okay,
Yes.
this is the thing, right? Being an English graduate, learning English the way they do in schools, in colleges, and all of that, right, is not the way you write copy. Is that
No,
correct?
it's not.
Right.
Yes.
Because I feel like what people are going to get from this, from what you said, right, they're going to mistakenly be like, oh, yeah, I've got an English, qualification. I could copyright too. But copywriting works completely opposite as to how we've been taught in school, which is why you went down that journey of learning how to do
Yes.
copywriting, right? Okay, so would you be
Yes.
able to explain a little bit more the difference, just in case our audience don't know what the differences is?
Yeah, absolutely. You're so spot on. So there was a lot of unlearning I had to do when I decided to
Okay.
become a copywriter, both from my degree, which teaches you to write in a very academic, professional, formal way. The way you'd write a dissertation is very different than the way you'd write a sales page, but also from my corporate background, because the way they teach you to write when you work in corporate is also very stiff, very robotic, very professional, in inverted commas. And I feel like I had to shed about 20 layers of skin to become a copywriter. And honestly, I feel like I'm shedding new ones every year, the more I evolve into who I am and showing up in my business as myself. And the main difference between formal writing, dissertations, corporate speak, and copywriting is that in copywriting, it's much more important to be human than it is to be
Yes,
correct. So you want
absolutely.
conversational copy. You want to be talking with your audience, not talking at them, not talking to them, talking with them. And so it needs to be a conversation. It needs to be informal. It needs to feel warm. It needs to feel like a story you're inviting people into. And so it's very different in terms of the language you use, the positioning, all of the rules that you learn in school. You can kind of throw those out the window and really just focus on, does it sound like you? Would you say it out loud? That's the most important thing.
Yeah, one of the things, I guess when I was going down this road is what they teach you about grammar and, like full stops and commas and all of that. You don't need any of that when it comes to copying. You literally write the way you talk,
Yes.
right? And that's what's going to bring people's attention, right? Your potential client's attention is actually reading stuff the way you actually talk, right? And that's why it needs to be in your kind of verbal language, how people hear you and see you on everyday life. And so I think that was my biggest learning was that, oh, and all of a sudden it becomes easier than what we got taught in school,
Absolutely, yeah.
right?
And you're right. It's not even just that people then receive the information better if you write it like you talk. It's also that they trust you more. So if
Mm.
you show up on video with one way of speaking, with one way of communicating, and people love that, but then they see your writing and it feels completely disconnected, it creates this real cognitive dissonance in their mind, which breeds distrust. It's this moment where we kind of go, oh, that doesn't sound like the same person. So it creates this lack of trust. And as you know, the thing we need the most when we're trying to get people to come into our business, to buy from us, is their trust. If they don't trust us, they're not going to buy. So having that
Right.
language that really sounds like you when you speak is not only important for building relationships and for, getting people to engage with you, it's actually really important for making sales and conversions too.
Yeah. It is. That's a huge one, right? I guess there's a lot of things that blocks people when they're building a business, especially when you're a newbie and just getting started and you don't know what the hell is going on. You got the perfect course, like you're showing up on social media and you're like, why is nobody buying? What is going on? But it could be a small thing that you're not talking in the language that people need to hear you in, right?
Yeah.
And if you are looking at writing things like you did with your essays at school, that's no way going to work in business, right?
Uh,
So tell us a little bit about, okay, what copywriting looks for you. Like, so when you're thinking about copywriting, say you're creating a sales page, what kind of things, especially for a beginner,
mhm.
would you suggest would be the best things to kind of take on board when learning copy?
Yeah. I mean, the most important one for me is to remember who you're writing for. It has to
Okay.
be for your ideal client. And so, what I mean when I say that is it has to make them feel something. You have to be talking in language that's going to resonate with the person reading it. So, it's kind of a cliche in marketing, but you have to get to know your ideal client really, really well because the stuff that's going to resonate with them is very different from the stuff that might resonate with someone else or with you, even. So it's understanding
Right.
who you're talking to. What are their challenges? What are their fears? What are their desires? Like, what keeps them up at night in a cold sweat? What are those things? Because once you really know them, those we call them psychographics, where you get really under their skin, like who are they? What makes them tick? That's the stuff that when they read your sales page, is going to make them go, oh God, I feel really seen. Because honestly, all we're doing with any kind of copy, with a sales page, a sales email, people just want to be seen, heard, and understood. That's it. Like, that's our whole goal as humans. And so it's getting to grips with what that language is. Like, are they, we
Okay.
see it on sales pages a lot. You're overwhelmed. Okay, but what are you overwhelmed with? What's the specificity there? What's the detail?
Mm.
Are they overwhelmed because they've got way too much emotional labor and they're constantly missing the kids' bedtimes? Or are they overwhelmed because they're doing all the everything in their business and they didn't start their business to do tech? Like, what are the specifics that make it really real for them? And then the other thing is just making sure that you're tapping into those feelings and the benefits rather than just the features. What we tend to see with,
Okay.
particularly with beginners, with people who are just starting out their business and they've never been taught copywriting, is they write a sales page and it sounds like you'll get an 8 module course, you'll learn this, 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 and this, you'll get 3 calls a month plus this. And it's just this list of things that they'll get.
Right.
But what people want to know is, who will I be at the end of this? What's going to change in my life? Like, what's the transformation that I'm paying
Right.
for? Because nobody is going to hand over £1,000 for a set of ingredients. You're handing over £1,000 if you think your life is going to be better at the end of it. You're going to be richer, sexier, happier. There's something that you want, some identity shift you want that you think can be achieved by buying this product or buying this service. And
Right.
and so that's the most important thing, is thinking about what is that transformation that they want. And that's really an A, B, and bridge. Where are they now? Where do they want to get to? And how can you
Right.
communicate that what you're selling is going to be that bridge to get them there?
Okay. Oh, I like that. All right. So what I'm hearing from you is one of the important things is actually knowing who your audience is, right? So what if there's people out there that are like, it's everybody, it's everyone, right? Because there are people out there that do say that, right? Like, is anybody
Yep.
that wants my product, right? How
Mm.
do you, or what was your steps in really identifying who your clients were? What did you follow?
You're right. There are a lot of people that say that. And I think that
Hmm.
it's a bit of a cliche, but the thing I always remember when I hear that is, if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. And I don't know
Yes,
who said that,
absolutely.
but it's one of my favorite quotes. And I think for me, what it comes down to is your ideal client is not the only person you're going to sell to. Your ideal client is the dream person that if they walk through the door right now, they are exactly who you want to work with. And I think of it a little bit like playing darts. Like, if you're playing darts and you're not aiming at something, you might hit
Right.
the wall. playing darts, you aim for the bullseye. Sometimes you'll hit it, sometimes you won't, but you're going to get in one of those concentric circles that are near it. So if you have an idea of who you're aiming for and get really specific about that, it's not that other people won't work with you, because people who are a bit similar to that ideal client in one way or another will still be attracted to your message. But if you're trying to talk to everyone, your language is going to be so generic, so bland, that no one's going to feel that emotional connection to it. So for me, the steps I took really were understanding, right, what is the thing that I am best at? What is the problem I can solve? And who has that problem? And who can afford to pay for it? Because I think that's the other thing a lot of people get wrong is they go, who's my ideal client? Well, my ideal client is overwhelmed single mums on benefits. And you go, okay, that's great. It's great that you want to help those people. What I always say, you know, because I train copywriters, and often they have this real mission-led vision for their business. They want to help this particular group of people because they were one of those people. And that is so amazing. And what I always say is that's amazing and great. Let's find a group of people who can pay for your service so that you can help those people. Because if we're making money in our business, then we can do the good we want to do and help the people we want to help. But yeah, ideal client is someone whose problem you can solve, who you'll enjoy working with, who's got the money to pay you.
Right. Okay. Now, the thing is, when we are starting out, we do go through that journey where we don't always know who it is. We have an idea of who it could be. And when you're actually working with different clients, you're like, okay, that is not the client I want to work with again. Right. Right. So just because you kind of had this idea as to, right, I want to work with, say, coaches, right? It's also going through that journey and understanding that you got to be able to work with certain people to really understand and niche down even further as to who you want to work with, who you don't as well, right? So we all got to go through that. And just because you put it down on paper, you want to speak with, you want to work with coaches, it may also change down the line. Is that right?
Yes, 100%. I mean, God, the journey of my business from working with people at the beginning who I wouldn't touch with a barge pole now. And still sometimes we make mistakes. You know, someone comes along who can afford it and we ignore all the red flags and we go, it's fine. They can afford it. Let's work with them. But I think as much as ideal client is about focusing on what you do want, it is also a process of figuring out through experience and sometimes trial and error what you really don't want. And I think a lot of that, yes, it's partly experience, but it's also partly learning your boundaries, your ways of working, your preferences, and stepping into your role as a leader in your business, as a CEO. Because I don't know about you, but for me, when I first started, I let people walk all over me. I was such a people pleaser. I was chronically people pleasing. And for me, at least a large part of my journey is realizing I have ADHD and therefore the way I respond to things is not necessarily neurotypical. Equally, the way I work isn't necessarily neurotypical. So there's been a lot of learning of how do I work best and what kind of people do I work best with and how do people get the best from me? And setting boundaries that protect my energy and my peace and my business in a way that works for me unapologetically. Because what works for someone won't work for everyone. And I know copywriters who have day rates and they work for clients for a whole day. If you try and sit me down for 8 hours in front of a computer, I will go literally insane. Like it can't be done. And so, yeah, you're so right. It's a process of figuring out what works for you and what you enjoy and then leaning more in that direction.
You're in a journey of kind of figuring out who you are. Right. I feel like that's what business is about, right? Who am I? What do I like? What don't I like? What you thought you liked, you probably won't like anymore. And as we progress, it just flip-flops everywhere in every direction, right? But going back to copywriting, right? You do that thing with a twist, well, that's with AI, right? You've embraced AI, you've embedded it, and you also teach your clients on how to do this. Now, AI, Chat GPT is the most popular thing that people are using, and they're just throwing anything in Chat GPT. Yep, it brings out great copy, or you think is great copy, because it sounds better than what you could write, and not everyone's a writer, right? And you throw that out there, and it may work, it may not work. It's like a hit and miss. So tell us a little bit about what it is that
Mm.
you do and how you teach your clients about implementing AI to copy.
Yeah. So I think you've made a really good point. A lot of people have been using it to create all of their copy and content and been delighted because what it spits out is fine. And
Yeah,
when you're not a writer, fine is a hell of a lot better than you could have come up with. And so
right.
what ChatGPT and Claude and other tools like this have done is democratize mediocre copy. That's what we've got now is we've got a much higher baseline.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone can write
Right.
copy that's fine. So what we now have to do is write copy that feels authentic and feels human
Mm.
and elevates it beyond just fine. Ironically, elevate is one of the words that signifies ChatGPT absolutely every time. But so the way that I approach it, the way I approach AI in a nutshell is I think of it like a kind of AI sandwich. AI is a brilliant processor. It's a brilliant researcher. It is a brilliant structural engineer. It can do the parts that require the manual work and the process and the research incredibly well. What it can't do is come up with creative ideas or have personality or be you. So for me, it's a case of using it in the middle. What I think a lot of people are doing is either brain dumping their ideas into ChatGPT and then posting what comes out, or
Right.
asking ChatGPT for ideas and then slightly tweaking what comes out. We
Right.
have to do both. We have to have the human on either side. So we have to be giving it our creative ideas, our point of view, our fresh takes, our opinions, our feelings, our life experience and expertise. And then also taking what it gives us and adding personality, adding ourselves, making sure it sounds like us. So we can be using it for that middle piece where it's like, okay, here's my amazing idea. Let's give it some structure. And then it's, okay, that's not quite it. Let's tweak it here and make it sound like us again. So I think of it as the really effective middleman in the process.
Okay.
And then it's all about iteration. It's a case of what, like you say, what a lot of people are doing is dumping stuff in, posting what comes out. But it's about realizing that it's a collaborative tool. So if it spits something out and you're like, not quite that, but this, tell it that, give it that information, have a conversation with it. We iterate and we kind of move through the
Mhm.
different versions. That way it also will learn more about us, our brand voice, what we like, how we want to write. These are very smart
Right.
tools. So what I try and teach my clients, and I teach both copywriters to use it in their business and also business owners to use it who aren't yet ready to invest in copywriters. And for me, the main thing is let's be using it in the areas where we can amplify our creativity rather than replacing it. So rather than using it to critically think for us, to come up with ideas for us, let's do that part ourselves. That's the part humans are really good at. And use AI to see fresh angles or to explore new ways of looking at things or to do deep research where it can go away and find facts, figures, statistics that back up our arguments that make our offers easier to sell. So it's about
I like
sliding
that.
it in and implementing it in the areas of the business where it would otherwise be hours and hours of manual work, research, processing, structuring, but making sure not to let it infringe on the areas of our business that are the parts we love, the
Yeah,
creativity, the critical thought, our personality.
absolutely. See, one of the things that I love doing ChatGPT is, well, as a podcaster as well, and teaching people how to get booked on podcasts and launch their own podcast is the huge aspect of storytelling,
Mm.
right? And the fact that now I don't have to just type into ChatGPT everything that I'm thinking, that you can actually talk to it as well, which has
Yeah.
made it so much easier, right? And so all of a sudden you can be walking down the street and just like talk to ChatGPT and just give it all your thoughts and the stories you've got in your head and how you want it to come across. And I find that makes it so much easier. And the amount of
Mm.
times I'm like, oh no, I don't like this. Can we change it to this? And can we say it like this? And I don't say that word, so let's not use the word elevate, right? You know, all these
Yes.
different
Or
things.
fluff.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, this whole post or email turns into this huge story that does
Mm.
pull readers to the heartstrings. right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts regards to storytelling and using AI and using it just outright in your copy everywhere you need it?
I think that there is no avoiding the fact that this is here to stay.
Okay.
And I think it's not going anywhere. There are a lot of people in my industry, a lot of copywriters who do not like that I'm teaching it. Well, fewer now,
Really?
actually. There are a lot of people who about 6 months ago were very annoyed and disgracing
Oh
copywriting
my
and bastardizing the
goodness.
English language. And now most of them are selling AI prompts. So everyone comes around eventually. But I think the message that I want to get across is we have to be using it in a way that's collaborative with our creativity. So when it comes to storytelling, it's about giving it our stories, but using it to come up with a clever way to segue that into a sale, or using it to
Right.
suggest different ways we can use that story. So you go, let's say you're talking to it and you go, I've got this great story. This thing happened the other day. It's really funny. It's really human. Suggest some ways that I could share this with my audience that would create connection and engagement. Suggest a way I could turn this into an email. Suggest a way I could turn this into
Oh,
a social media post. So we're using the stories in multiple different ways. What it's really good at is repurposing. So once you've
okay.
written something that you love, handing
Mhm.
that to an AI tool and saying, I've written this amazing thing. How could we turn this into a blog? How could we turn this into an email? How could we turn this into an episode of my podcast? How can we be repurposing the stuff we've already created so we're not always recreating the wheel? Because as business owners, we are busy. Like we wear a million hats every single day. And so for me, it's people use the word lazy like it's a bad thing. But for me, as an ADHD business owner, anything I can do that lets me be a little bit lazier so that I can have time with my
Mm,
family, claw back time with my friends, do things I enjoy, help causes I'm interested in, that shit is groundbreaking. That's incredibly important to me. So I think AI enables us to create content in a much faster way, and if we can combine that AI speed, but keep that human heart, that's where the sweet spot's going
yeah.
to be for me over the next few years, I think.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay. No, I love this because yeah, I absolutely agree with what you said. Like AI isn't going anywhere. And it's so funny because you said AI came onto the scene in 2022, right? Where you kind of jumped into it, right?
Mhm.
Because I've been working a lot in the States, I actually learned about Chat GPT in 2020, January of
Right.
2020, right? And it then eventually came over to the UK. But I've been doing AI and Web3 and all of that during the pandemic before it even hit the UK. And it was so funny because I was like, why is no one talking about AI in the UK? Like, what is going on here? Right? But now it's slowly kind of coming in that direction. Now everybody's talking about AI, right? There wasn't even an
Yeah.
AI summit you could go to back then
No,
either,
no,
right?
I know. Yeah, I think it was 2022 was when it really took off over here, wasn't it? That was when
Yeah.
ChatGPT hit the scene and everything went mad and people got really excited and
I
terrified.
feel like it's got really big. I feel like it's blown up like as of 2024 last year.
Yeah, big time.
Right. And now, like, there's a couple of summits and everything like that. So, because there wasn't those resources around, and I guess you were an early adopter as well, like, where did you find all the information to really kind of keep on top of this? Because AI evolves so quickly day by day. So, what were you doing to kind of keep on top of things?
I think the honest answer is I have always just been incredibly curious. And
Okay.
so I spent hours and hours and hours just trying to figure out all the different use cases that it could be applied to. So I
Okay.
I was doing a lot of workshops. I would train corporate teams on how to use it in their workflows and train copywriters on how to use it. And so every time I booked a new job and they told me what they were struggling with, I would just make it my mission to go away and research solutions. And it was more of a creative process of going, okay, you want to do this, this, and this. How can we think about the ways that might be possible? And for me, the area that I've kind of steered into and have excelled in is prompt engineering. which is basically just
Oh,
the words we put
yeah.
in to get it to do what we want it to do. And I think that's no coincidence, because it is copywriting. It is, prompt engineering is literally just clear communication that
Right.
explains what you want someone to do, getting them to take action. So for me, that was the area I specialized in. I teamed up with friends who were more techie, so I could learn about the coding side of things and
Okay.
the APIs and how to automate things. I have been subscribed to all sorts of newsletters that give me the updates and keep on top of things. And it was just pure curiosity, I think, just always wanting to learn more. And I felt like I had this thing, I'm sure you've experienced this because you love AI and kind of learning about it too, but it's almost this proliferation that happens when you learn one thing and then you go, oh, okay, that means I could do this and this and this. So your brain suddenly starts expanding and going, ooh, and then you think
Yeah.
about it and you go and explore that and you find something else. And for me, the last few years have just been this constant feeling of like, oh my God, that's a game changer. Oh, that's a game changer. And so it's moving
Yeah.
so fast. I think the big one for me, one of the really fun developments over the last few years, was the custom GPTs and realizing that I could help people do really specific things with AI and without them having to be experts. I could do the prompting for them and create workflows that help them. So one of the things I've built and developed and released recently is it's called artificial intelligence, which is a little fun to say,
Nice.
but that was very proud when I came up with that one. But it's a sort of system of helping people to write their sales pages, write their emails, write their copy, but in a way that's coached. So it's not just generating and spitting out for them. It's actually getting them to think about their ideal client, getting them to think about their copy, getting them to think about those pain points and those things they need to put into it, so that when they come to write their sales page, it's informed by all the stuff they need. So it's kind of teaching them the process so they know what good looks like, but also making it way easier. And for me, that was a really exciting development, was realizing that you kind of use these tools to be available for your people, even when you're sleeping or on holiday, or,
Right.
you can be present, or at least your expertise and your intellectual property can be present 24/7 when you build these tools. So I think for business owners,
Absolutely.
especially, that's really exciting, because we can be
Yeah.
building tools to help people with our courses, with our programs, with our trainings. Yeah, really
And to be
exciting
fair,
time.
to keep up with like the industry and the business and tech and the world, right? All business owners need to implement AI for sure. Now, Chantel, I can speak to you for days about this, days and days, right? But I also know that I can't have you here for days and days because you do have clients and you do have copy. You got to go probably speak to AI, right? And you've got calls going on and all that good stuff. And so I know at this point people are thinking, oh my goodness, I need to get hold of Chantel because I need to learn more about AI and how it actually works. So where would they go?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on Instagram at Copywriting Business Coach, or on Facebook, Chantelle Davison. I'm just personal profile, sharing all my stuff all over there. So I also
Wait,
have
is
a
it not
freebie.
AI?
Sorry.
You're telling me it's not AI? You don't have an AI on your social media?
Don't
It's
have
you
an.
personally?
It is me. It's me. Yeah, I keep that part. That's I'll never stop blithering on the internet. That that will definitely stay me. Um, but what I do have for your listeners is a free resource as well. So I've created exactly the problem that you talked about, where it's kind of generating stuff and we don't know if it's good or bad. There's certain signifiers that ChatGPT generated content has. It's kind of like little telltale signs. So what I've created is a
Yeah.
glossary that gives people a little bit of an insight into what words, what sentence structure might be a bit of a giveaway. And what you can do is just drag and drop that into your ChatGPT and say, help me
Yeah.
avoid the stuff in this glossary. So they can
Oh,
grab
man.
that, I think, via the link you're going to share as well.
I'm totally taking that as well. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. Guys, listen, if you haven't connected with Chantel, go ahead and do that right now. Go down to this show notes. All the links will be there. Go and get that freebie, right? Because every single one of us need it. I'm gonna go get it for sure. I'm gonna go do it right now, right? But Chantel, thank you so much for coming on. So much golden nuggets in such a short amount of time. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.